that we can accept out of, no, it's not in the contract with the people that we acquire. No.
I was told that we did deed restrict the property.
What we did as far as the height though, and that was about it. In that,
I've been told, my understanding, we had a situation that has arisen about this, but my understanding was that there is a deed restriction prohibiting us on that property from accepting garbage that is not originated in our county.
we
We
put
can
that in there.
check on that,
It's
but
in
as
there.
far as the finances, financial report.
That's what take-
The reason why, so if we can elaborate on this one just for a minute, I would like to have a couple of local, so I'd like to do a comparison with a few other counties that have and maintain their own solid waste. And I'd like to know, Larry says we'll never break even. I'd like to know how other counties are performing. And let's at least see if we're on target, below, or exceeding in terms of revenues per dollar spent. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And we're actually gonna get to that when we get back here. Some of
Is
those
that where you're
very,
smiling?
some of those very things, that are gonna be in there. Larry's absolutely right, we can't accept outside waste, but there are avenues that we can bring this to a more livable number other than the $1 million that we're subsidizing. I think that's.
Okay. All right, we all good on that? Keep moving on the financial report. Okay, go ahead, Lou.
All right, the last slide, this is just for general fund. I wanted to give you kind of a monthly cash balance. Went back to October, just kind of chose a date and time just to go back and look at, and I'll continue this now on a monthly basis. As you can see, in our lowest month is November at 1.3, which I think is pretty good because that was our lowest cash month since October, and that is expected because we're at the very end of our tax year. And you can tell in December, we started, it increased to 4 million. That is due to taxes, because the bills started going out, and we started seeing some collection. And of course, in January, the 12 million is basically a huge collection of taxes. And as you get, we're now on the downside, and it looks to be that we're spending approximately $1 million a month from our tax digest over and above each month
Okay.
on that. But we're still holding our own.
Very good.
So at the end of April, we have $7 million in the bank. Any
All right.
questions?
Any questions for Lori? On the
Yeah,
financial report?
can you give us a copy of the budget each month, first of the month, the complete budget, and it shows the percentage of what's been spent on each line item? We used to do
All right, you want a detailed budget?
that. Exactly.
Okay, I'll just put it in your box, because it's too much to bring here to the board.
I'm just saying, it's a
For
little
review.
print out, we've done
Yeah, okay, that's no problem.
it, it helps out.
All right. Lori, the next item on the agenda is you're still up, Georgia Investment Account Name Change Resolution. So
Okay.
present
Just to
that.
give you a little bit of history on what Georgia Fund 1 is, I'm sure you already know. Just to give you a little bit of history. Georgia Fund 1 is a combined, sorry, excuse me, is a combined state general fund and local government investment pool managed by the Office of the State Treasurer. General Fund 1 is offered by the state of Georgia as a conservative, efficient, and liquid investment alternative. The primary investment objectives of Georgia Fund 1 are safety of capital, liquidity, yield, and diversification with primary emphasis on safety of capital and liquidity. Interest rates for this fiscal or this calendar year is, as you can see, from January to April is approximately 2.4%. And this rate is net of fees.
Okay.
Just to let you know, I have compared this to our local money market account. At April, it's drawing 0.01%. CD rates, I've got a comparison on those as well. CD rates for 6 months is 1.98%. If you go with 11-month CD, it's again 1.98%. And if you go with a 23-month CD, it's 1.88%. Don't know why that decreased by 0.10, but it did for the 23 months. Also, just to state, in the CDs, on CDs, you're limited to when you can get your money back out. You know, if you do get it out early, then you have to pay the penalties and interest and on those. On the Georgia Fund one great incentive for it, or you can get your cash out depending on when you call it in. If you call it in before 2, it's like a 24-hour turnaround. If you call it in after 2, it's like a 48-day turnaround. Or you can't get it out of the CDs that quick, so if you needed it quicker, you could. Still earning the same interest rates that you see up here.
Okay.
Monroe County currently has 2 General Fund 1 accounts, one for the General Fund account. I've got the cash balances in there where they're at today, and one for the Water Fund account. We're having to update the resolutions required. Resolutions are required on both accounts to change the authorization of names. None of us sitting here are on the resolution.
You need all 3 of you?
So we need, it's on here, on the resolution, it lists all the authorized, people that can get onto the accounts and signatories. And I really, really want this done as soon as possible because I want to transfer some of our money into the General Fund 1 General Fund account.
Okay.
I'd like to suggest that at least you can add 2 other people on there.
Yes, you can.
That it would be a good idea to add a couple of commissioners. I don't
We
like
can
the
do that.
idea of just employees having the ability to transfer funds without the knowledge of the board. That was one of the primary problems about paying the IRS and the state income taxes. Nobody knew about it when it was transferred, and I wrote a recommendation that wasn't followed, that they be printed out each time that the taxes are generated to the state of the income tax. And you're doing it now, but what I'm saying, the commissioners are the ones that will be held accountable for any misappropriation. We're the ones that go end up in court or in jail, or after they put you all in jail. So what do you think about that?
I don't mind it, but how's it gonna help?
We know, this is how it's gonna help. You will know each time a transfer will be made. You got 2 commissioners on that.
Is that right? No.
Well,
It won't, I mean,
You
all
can be
this
on,
is,
yeah.
all this is the authorization to sign list. This isn't a who's gonna get notified list.
Yeah. This is only to go on, so I can get the bank statements monthly and reconcile the bank statements and put money into the account. This is all this is doing. This is basically online, for us to be able to go online and set up our accounts to where we can see them and view them online.
You cannot transfer funds in and out of it.
Yes, you can transfer funds in and
Well,
out.
that's what I'm saying.
But it's not gonna send you a notice.
But you're gonna get a notice.
Right.
If
It's
you
not
wanna
gonna
be-
send
if
you an
want-
individual
I understand
notice.
If you wanna put your name on here, authorize 2 or 3
Right.
other commissioners to be on here, you can put us on the list, that's not an issue. So that we have the ability to help them if 1 or 2
Right.
are not here and they need the assistance. I get that part of it, but it's not, we're not gonna get a notice each time she does it. That's
Right.
our job, is to create a policy that says, hey, whenever you do it, you gotta let us know.
Well, that's
It
what
does
I'm-
bring up a good point.
And that could be on the
though.
That's
monthly
what I'm after.
cash flow statement, because if you're going to, sending out a monthly or a quarterly report to y'all, it would be part of the monthly cash flow statement, because your cash would be there. So
Brings
you
up
can
a
see the
good
cash.
point, though, that's something that I'd like to ask Jim to follow up on and maybe report back to us on, is that, I know there are insurance policies. I'd be interested in making sure that our insurance covers fraudulent activities.
Or our property, our liability insurance.
Yeah, because there's 100 ways that, at the end of the day, the commission has to trust the employees that just like any business, and somebody that's willing to commit fraud and spend the next 20 years of their life in prison, it's hard to guard against that. There's almost no way to do that. So we need to make sure we're insured against it, which I know, I've got a very small business that and we made sure that's in our policy, so. And while you're at it, Jim, the D&O policy as well, just, I'd like an update on that, just to make sure that in the event a commissioner was, you know, also, well, that one is a different subject altogether, but just if you'll make a note, to ask me about D&O insurance. But I mean, we got company credit cards, we got, you know, there's petty funds, and so, but I would say if Commissioner Evans wants to be on there as an additional signatory, I don't have a problem. I don't want to be on there.
I don't, but I'll pass. So, that's fine. Right now, she needs the action item you need
So
is a
here's
motion.
here's the motion.
Yeah.
What we need.
All right, it's pleasure of the board.
All right, I'll motion to approve Jim Hedges, Lori Robinson, Janet Abbott, and Commissioner Larry Evans as signatories on the Georgia Fund 1 accounts, and authorize chairman and clerk if necessary to sign.
Okay, got a motion to that effect, got a second? Got a second, Commissioner Evans on him first. Any discussion on that? Here none, I'll call the question, all in favor? You raising your hand, that's all, that's unanimous. All right, thank you, Lori, appreciate your presentations. Next item on the agenda, Chief Perry, come up and tell us about what, hold on, Chief. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm moving too fast, I checked it off early, the budget.
I'm next.
Just really wanted to hear about wind sirens, you know, weather sirens.
All right, after this, I'll sit down. Up is the budget for the 2018. So now we're going back 6 months, basically, actually 5 months. So we are winding down for the fiscal year 2018, closed for the audit. And this will be our final budget amendment for the year, and this is for basically audit purposes only. The state of Georgia requires it.
Okay.
It has been a great year financially
Okay.
since I've been here. I don't know past, but since I've been here, it's kind of been a great year. We've
It
found some
absolutely
things.
has. Yes.
General fund revenues. The general fund revenues at the fiscal year end need to be amended by $1.124 million. Needs to be increased. As you can see on here, the highest increase is for taxes, which needs to be amended by $1 million. If you look at this chart, it basically tells us how our revenues panned out for the year. As you can see, once again, our taxes is our highest source of revenues. Now that taxes includes property taxes, our local option sales tax, any kind of taxes. So it's not just property taxes, I just wanted to let you know that. It's any kind of tax that we collect. And of course, then there are two highest sources of revenues on taxes is going to be your digest tax followed by your local option sales tax. The second revenue source, highest source of revenue, is charges for services, and it's right at $1.5 million.
Almost $1 million in fines.
And then almost $1 million in fines. That's our third.
Where is most of that coming from? Or-
Traffic, I would think. I don't know
Oh,
honestly,
okay.
because this comes from our courts. But I would think it's going to be traffic.
Traffic.
Mhm.
I'm just glad I didn't contribute to that number.
Me
in
too.
2018.
Me too.
I got a 16-year-old driving now.
Exactly.
Okay, on the other side of the general fund is the general fund expenditures. The general fund expenditures need to be increased by $903,566 from the beginning budget of $27.8 million to $28.7 million. The most significant change in the expenditures was in the other financing sources, which needs to be amended by an increase of $779,000 And this was to record an end-of-year audit adjustment for fuel expenses that was billed to other governmental agencies. And I wanted to just bring that out because really that offsets itself in revenues and receivables, because this is just what the fuel depot billed out. We have to expend it, it's an audit requirement, we have to expend it, but on the other hand, we have billed it out, so we have a receivable and a revenue on the books for collections of this. So it kind of nets each other at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a $900,000, is that right, about a $900,000 increase in expenditures, but you also had over $1 million in revenue increase,
Yes,
correct?
yes,
So-
that is correct.
So
Yeah,
the
I
nets-
got another page that'll show you two on together.
All right, I do.
Okay. Once again, I just drew another pie chart, just to let you see how our funding is being spent, how our revenues are being spent. Let me look at my notes here, and I can tell you, I believe our highest is the general government, which includes a lot of different departments. That includes our board of commissioners, our administration, our finance, purchasing, the judicial system, or the judicial facility, our buildings, etc. It has a lot that's combined into your general government. Our next is public safety, which is inspected. That's your next highest. That includes, all of your public safety, not just the sheriff's office, but it's sheriff's, the fire, animal control, all of the public safeties.
All right,
Here is your total revenues, beginning budget, and then our expenditures as well, sitting side by side. So our final end-of-year budget is $28,776,000.
you got an extra $221,000, give or take.
The revenues didn't balance to the expenditures at the beginning of the year. On the system now,
Oh, I see that, okay.
yes,
Yeah.
and they should have. And I didn't go back and research why not. I'm just making it right at the end of the year.
Okay. Oh, I see, yeah, I got you. But even with the $120,000 difference, $119,000 difference at the beginning budget, between those two numbers, you still got over $200,000 in the amendment to the good.
Yes, to the good.
So $100,000, I got it. Okay.
Okay, just to give you kind of a summary of 2018, we did get the tax anticipation note. That kind of happened right when I first came, and it more or less came as an insurance policy. I think I've told y'all the story that I sent, I had to do kind of analysis, and I sent it over to the attorney, and he says, you gotta make it look worse than this. This isn't gonna get us a tan.
All right.
So I went back and, kind of made it look like, and it was more or less just an insurance policy,
Right.
just because I hadn't dug into it far enough to know where we were at that time. Really wasn't needed. As you can see, our lowest cash flow was in November, and it was still at over $1 million that we had in cash flow. We could have managed that with our spending for that 1 month if we needed to. We banked $2.45 million into the rainy day fund. That's why I want the that's where I'm gonna put the money into the general fund 1, so it can draw interest. And that's where our rainy day fund is gonna sit.
What's that gonna equate to, assuming we kept that in there all year, 2.4% on 2.45 million?
Not only that, but if we don't have a TAN though,
That's your insurance right there.
You know,
Yeah. If you had to draw down, you could draw down on the 2.45 if you had to, during those months.
You actually, if you don't have to draw the 2.45.
Then it's a
down, you get
win-win on
interest
all your
that.
investment.
And not only you don't have to pay interest out on the taxes.
Right,
I have
right.
one more question
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, in general fund charges for services. EMS revenue is also a charge for service, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, and I think we've got some improvements on that right
yeah. Now,
now.
that's not showing you the 2018.
Right, we're looking at 2019, I'm
Yes,
just anticipating that.
yes, yes, sure do.
Now, that should be an enterprise fund,
Huh?
EMS.
E911 is an enterprise fund.
Oh, I see, EMS.
Oh, EMS.
Okay.
That's all.
We've reconciled all SPOS funds. Y'all know what a chore that was. Sorry it took so long for me to get through it, but it was, I had to go back further than I thought I was gonna have to. But we got that done, and that brought us in some extra monies that we didn't know we had. All federal and state employee withholding taxes are being paid on time.
Hallelujah.
And just to let everybody know, you guys send that to us each and every.
Every
Friday.
payroll,
Okay.
yes, just so you can see that we have paid out the taxes.
Yeah.
Also, which is not part of the 2018, we did receive some of our monies that we had paid in taxes from the federal government. We received some of that back.
Good.
How much?
$95,000.
All right.
Put that down, Richard.
And I was gonna, I'm gonna go back to this slide right here. Just remember this number, 6.15 million pre-audit.
Okay.
I only asked y'all to do a final budget of 28 million, because that's all of our expenditures. We actually brought in over 30 million in revenues. That's when we have a surplus of 6.15 million.
Great.
Now, that's pre-audit.
Mhm.
So we're winding down the audit. I don't think there's gonna be any significant journal entries from the auditors that would change that by a whole lot, but there potentially could be. I don't wanna stand here and say there won't be for sure, and then there is. But hopefully.
6.15 for 18?
For 18.
I missed, how did we go from 2.45 to 6? Where's it?
Okay, so on here, that's only to balance our budget.
Right,
I need it to balance to the expenditures.
right.
I gotta have a balanced budget. If I show the additional 30 million, our revenues is at 30 million.
Uh-huh.
I can't do a 30 million on the revenue side without, what am I gonna do on the expenditure side? We didn't spend it.
Right.
So you do it the reverse. So
Right,
we're gonna
that's-
have a,
That's 2 million though, isn't it?
That's about it.
28.7 to 30 is less than 2 million.
1.3 million, 2.24,
all right, hold on, let me give you the exact numbers. I think I see where you're going. Our total general fund expenditures is coming in at 24.5. I increased it, I have it at 28 because we have some things in there that I have to budget for that we may not actually end up spending the money on there. So our actual revenues right now is at 24.5. Our actual revenues,
Or you mean expenditure?
She meant expenditures. yeah.
I mean expenditures, I'm sorry. Our actual revenues,
Expenditures are $4 million less than that, basically, right now. That's what's budgeted in the invoice.
So in the expenditures budget, you've got a portion of that going towards,
a couple of items that we should not have to spend, and it's in other financial resources, uses out, and hopefully we will not have to use those monies. So, and I'm banking on that we're not, because we're close to the audit, and I don't think we're gonna have to.
Okay.
That's where there could be some changes when the audit comes in, but I don't think they're gonna have to. Our revenues, if I can get to that page, is 30.5.
Right.
That's
That's
and
what
that's
the difference
actual
is.
revenue.
The actual expenditures are 24 million and some,
Yes,
and then we've got 30 some odd in.
revenues that have actually came
30
in.
million in revenues, and that's with the $6 million.
Yeah. So this is just for the budget, and this is, our actual dollars is, where our 6.1 is coming in at.
Okay.
great.
Can we get a breakdown on our water and our road money that's coming in on Splash?
On the spliced, for you on current year to date?
Right,
Okay,
individually. Normally, it used to break down to about $22,000.
okay. Well, you know, I gave you analysis through 2018, through December 2018 for Splash 2014. And I estimated what we would collect in each of the departments for this year, because we only have 12 months left. But yes, I can give you to date where we're at on
But
that.
what I'm getting at, the normal breakdown is when the total amount of money received for water, total amount of received for roads, break it down 4 ways, 25%, and that way we kept up with it on a district basis. And that's the way we voted in the last splash. And it was allocated at $1.2 million per district. I see all these other folks out. I see they invented a District 5 or something. But anyway,
They did.
I'll break down.
Did I get that?
It's on this sheet.
I hadn't seen District 5.
I don't wanna know who he is.
Me too. All right, Lord, so,
Okay, last slide.
go ahead. Yep, surplus, Scott.
This is the motion to approve the 2018 year-end budget amendment by the increase in revenues and the increase in expenditures.
Okay.
So moved.
Got a motion from Commissioner Evans to approve the 2018 year-end budget amendment by increasing revenues $1.124,105 and increasing expenses by $903,567. Have a second. A second, Commissioner Mommy. Any discussion on that? Here none, I'll call the question. All in favor? All right, Lori, thank you so much for all your work. I think all of us would agree that Lori has done she's gone over and
Big booty
above.
job.
And, you've definitely done an amazing job with all of that, and we appreciate your diligence, persistence, and look forward this year even being a little bit easier, with even better news coming. Right. All right, Chief Perry, I know you're coming at the bit to come on up and tell us about our outdoor siren upgrade. You have the floor.
Oh, sorry, there you go, you can have it.
When we changed over to the new P25 radio system, one of the things left out of the contract was putting radios into the outdoor warning sirens that we have throughout the county. Essentially, it's rendered them unreliable to useless at this moment. I've been working for 2 years with this company trying to get them to give me an idea of what it would cost to put their radios in these sirens. They can't do it. As a matter of fact, in February of this year, I brought them in to meet with Mr. Hedges, and in the span of one sentence and one conversation, the estimate cost in one sentence went from $150,000 to $180,000. I walked outside and made a phone call, and I've got a company that is the manufacturer of the siren that has a system that will make it work for way less than that. Real quick, though, I want to go over something. We have 6 sirens in the county. They cover their outdoor warning sirens. People typically call them tornado sirens because that's what they are predominantly used for. Ours have other features to even go so far as to put voice messages over them. We can use them for other things from lightning to missing kids and broadcast remotely. We put them in areas of concentrated outdoor populations. They were, at the time installed, we were still on our VHF radio system, which was working nominally. We put solar panels on them to keep those batteries charged and to keep our bills down. Like I said before, they are unreliable at best, and in some cases, I don't think they would activate based on the radio system we have. Could you go to the next slide, please?
You want to budget up that in there too?
Yes, sir. Lori, can you see?
Yes, you can.
We have a maintenance agreement with a company, Alpha Communications, who's done a fine job keeping these things upgraded, but he doesn't do the radio transmission part. Right now, we're spending $1,600 a month for tower rental space for the VHF radio. We extended the contract out through, I believe it is June of this year, July of this year.
For which one, I'm sorry?
The siren radios through American Signal,
Actually, we had to do it for the whole year.
the whole year.
They wouldn't let us.
To not to not just speak poorly of others, I've had conversations with Federal Signal, who manufactures our siren, engineers in Chicago, and they have just said they're at a standstill with Harrison Williams. There are some patented equipment issues that they don't want to share, that kind of trade information they don't want to share back and forth, and it's just become very difficult.
But,
Yeah.
we do that again.
So, in talking to Federal Signal and Alpha, who's been doing our maintenance agreement, and Federal, who manufactures the sirens, they have a system for $80,000 that will afford us a few things. One is it'll work, which I enjoy. It will replace all the batteries. It will fix any little maintenance agreement, maintenance problem we may have. But the other thing that it does is it now increases our ability to activate them. We will go to an automated system for the National Weather Service. We will also have increased our ability to remotely activate, even down to have 5 folks that will have the ability to set them off on their phone through a Federal Signal app. So now we went from having two static points to activate them, one at the 911 center and one at the Forsyth Fire Department. We now have a place that we can put an additional 5 points of activation, increasing coverage and the ability to set them off when we need them to. There will be some ongoing costs with them. We will have a $5,000 yearly fee for the subscription service to the monitoring and the activating, the software upgrades and things that are necessary to maintain the system. We will also we're going to hardwire these buildings into our fire stations that they are next to, because they're on a generator backup. So heaven forbid they lose power, they'll be tied into that and the generator will kick on and back up the power. Keep in mind that these are not activated by the solar panels or the tying them into the building. The batteries are what sets them off. So even if you lose power for whatever reason, as long as those batteries have juice and have been charged, the siren will go off. When Mr. Hedges and I were going through the 2020 budget for SPLOST, this was budgeted for this project. Originally, we budgeted $150,000 to $180,000 for it, but after doing some work and having some conversations and meetings, we had found a very capable system for $80,000.
One quick question on the $150,000 to $180,000 cost. Was there also a yearly fee?
It would have been included in the maintenance agreement that you have currently or are working on currently with Harrison Williams.
Would it have gone up?
Yeah, I believe it would.
Okay. Just asking, just again, trying to equate it to.
You immediately, and we can possibly go back and have conversations with American Tower, we may be able to go back on that contract and have some conversations with them. That alone is $1,600 a month you're saving immediately. The other thing is this, and this happened yesterday evening.